Hello, hi everyone, welcome back to Basic Piano Theory. And then in this class, briefly, we want to talk about chord voicings. Chord voicings. So we'll be talking about chord voicings, the importance of chord voicings. Okay? So when we talk about chord voicings, what do we really mean by the word chord voicings? We'll be on the key of C, which is of course our primary chord, scale, key and scale for this our basic music theory. Now we have our C chord, which is our one chord. Now when we talk about chord voicings really has to do with how we voice our chord that smoothly leads to another chord destination we want to go to. Let's say for instance, we want to play our one chord and then we play our four chord, which is our four chord. We play our four chord. I believe we all learned our chord formation, our chord inversion, because for us to be able to play a chord voicing smoothly to the very next chord destination we want to go, we will need to be able to know our inversion. So that's why after the inversion class we did previously, we are having these chord voicings so that we can leverage on the power of inversion, chord inversions. Okay, so now this is our one chord. So we want to play our one chord and we want to go to our four chord. Now if you observe, if you see how I'm jumping my hands from here, I have to leave my hand, move it to where we need to start from here. Okay, so now it sounds okay, but this is not a smooth chord voicings. The chord voicings are not smooth. The transition is not smooth because we had to jump and it's sounding light, sounding a little bit, sounding light. So the point I'm trying to make it is that for we being able to change from this our one chord to our four chord with a subtle difference, that it will take an ear, it will sound so nice, but the ear will not really know that there is a very huge change. Okay, there is a very huge change. So that's what we are really talking about. So the transition, smooth transition, is just for instance now for people that edit videos. Okay, people that edit video, if you cut a video maybe in the middle and then you see now that if the video is playing and it wants to enter to the next video that you just cut that want to start, you will discover that you will see it will look as if the video is being disrupted. So you have to insert. That's why you see in video, most of the video editing software, they have an in-stock built transitions preset that you can use. So these transitions will kind of like join the two videos together, that will not allow the audience or the person that is watching the video get caught out or get distracted. So that's what transitions really do. Like for instance, now if I play this one chord, let's come back to the piano. If I play this one chord now and I move to the four chord, it sounds nice, but there's a break and it's so obvious. There's an obviousness there because how the sound is going, it looks as if we are just jumping to another thing to play. So what chord voicings and chord transitions help you do is that it will help you move smoothly. Now imagine, let me explain what I mean. Let me play what I mean. From my one to my four, this is normal movement. Now if I want to do my chord voicings, can you now see? It sounds somehow the same, but it's different chord. They are different chord. Why it sounds a little bit confusing, but it's different, and it has that smoothness of moving is because most of the chords on this one are still found on the chords of our C. Like for instance, if you play the chord of F, you will notice that this last note here is C. So if we play C, you see that we still have that last note here. So what chord transition or chord voicings really does is that it helps you transit from one chord to another chord, still having most of the notes that are in the next chord in the same chord that you are. So how will you be able to leverage on this? How will you be able to know this? Because at the end we will have a practice, we'll have exercise that will help us for us to be good in chord transitions. Okay, so now how for us to be able to understand this, we need to understand our inversions properly. So if remember I said this is a 4 chord, let's say for instance this is our 4 chord and we have the first and second inversion. The first inversion is this and our second inversion is this. All right, so imagine if we are on our 1 chord here and you ask yourself which inversion of this 4 chord is closer to this our 1. You notice that the closest inversion is this inversion. Why? Because if we play this our C chord, you see that the next note here is F. If you press it down, another note is A. If you press it down, we have a 4 chord, but it's inverted in second inversion. Okay, so this, when we understand the relationship between one chord and another chord, which is 4, and the transition, how smooth we can move from one chord to another chord, it can help our playing and make us sound nice without breaking the spirit of people or making our playing look so obvious. Okay, I believe I've been able to explain it better. So the exercise we'll be doing, we'll be looking at the relationships between different chords. And the note, what I mean by relationship is that the note that you can find on C chord that you can still find in another chord, and know, so that we'll be able to know which notes to move and which notes we should still hold down while moving to another chord. That's what I mean. So that's just what it's really all about in chord voicings and in our transitions, chord smoothing, how we play our chords smoothly. Okay, so now let's do this together. I have a C chord. If I want to move to my 2 chord, is there any note in my C chord that is in our 2 chord? No. So that means that there's no note. Now we ask ourselves, which of the inversion, now don't forget we want to move from the 1 chord to the 2 chord now, which is this. But for us to just jump like this, we ask ourselves, which of the inversion of the 2 chord is closest to this our 1 chord? So we can see that this one is closest. It is closer because we just move our hands here, is closer. And not just only this, we have another inversion, which is this one. It's still the same inversion as the 2. I believe by now we all know our inversion, so we are not confused by what I'm playing. So from our 1, this inversion is this root is closer, and from our 1, this other inversion is closer. So whenever you are on your 1 and you want to go to your 2, you can either play this roots of your 2, or you can play the inversion of your 2, your second inversion of your 2. Now I'm not saying that if you play the other inversion of your 2 that it will not work. I'm not saying if you play this inversion it will not work. It works, but you see the distance of moving, from here to here. Unless you want to play the second inversion of your 1, don't forget that this is our first inversion of this is our root, first inversion of 1, then second inversion of 1. So if we are having this second inversion of 1 as a starting point, that means that the best option to go to our 2 is not this one again. It's going to be either this one, because it's very closer. You see the smoothness in transition. Instead of playing like this, you now move, or it still sound nice, but the closer the chords, the smoother the transition. So we can use this, we can play this as a 2, or we can play this, you can see. So you look at, the logic is that you look at the inversions that are closer to, that surrounds your chords that you are playing, irregardless of any inversion that you are starting with. You look at the surrounding of the next chord you want to go to, which inversion is closer to the chords you want to go to. So if we are playing from 1, we want to go to the 2. So now let's start from the root. These are 1 root, we want to go to the 2. So we ask ourselves which inversion is closer to the 1. So this one is closer and this one is closer. All right, so we go to the 2. This is our 2, and we want to, okay, let's say we are still on 1. We want to from 1 look for we want to from 1 go to the 3, because we have done 2 now. We want from the 1 go to the 3. So we ask ourselves which inversion of 3 is closer to the 1. Now if you see, now pay attention to this. Don't forget we have the 3, we have these roots of the 3, these are our first inversion, this is our second inversion. Now if you notice that in this our second inversion of the 3, if I take these notes back to C, it becomes a C root automatically. So just one finger to here makes the chord, can change a whole thing, makes the chord the second inversion of your third chord. So if this is a 1, we want to go to the 3. This inversion is the closest because we just move just one, and this is what we mean by transition to having a whole new chord. So we have this transition is closer, and which other transition again is closer? If we say we should play this transition, is a little bit far because we had to jump another chord to have it. So if from here we play here, this transition is closer. Which other transition again is closer? So I think this is the closest transition that we can get. Not that if you play this one it will not work, it will work, but we are looking at the possible closest transition to the next chord that we are going to. So let's go to from the 1 to the 4. Okay, I hope we get the logic now. From the 1 to the 4, this exercise now we are doing. So if this is a 1, which inversion of the 4 is closer to, or is most closest to the 1? So if you notice that if we move this our 3 to the 4, and we move to the 5 to the 4 to the 6, we have our 4 chord. And which of the inversion is this of our 4? This is our root, first inversion, second inversion. So this second inversion of our 4. So that means that just moving your hands, just these two hands. If you notice, this our C is constant, is stationary, is not moving. So it's just these ones that are moving. So you can see now that we can easily move from 1 to 4. Instead of playing 1 and jumping our hands and come and be playing 4 like this, we can play 1 and we can play 4 like this. I'm not saying playing like this is bad, but we are looking at transition and smoothness in our chords, in playing our chords. Alright, so this is closer and this too is closer. Now I will encourage you, as you are searching for, as you are niching down to chords transition that are closest to your 1, from your 1 to 4, as you are looking for it going forward, you should also consider looking for it going backward, in case you feel like playing your chords backward or playing your chords forward. So from the 1, let's look for another transition going backward that is closer to the 1, from your 1 to your 4. So if you notice that if I remove this, my 5 to the 4, and here, so from here to here is closer. From here, from my 1 to my 4 of these are first inversion. Don't forget, these are root, first inversion. Then we have second inversion. So from we have touched this, is worked, and then it works. So literally, for us to get the logic now, whenever you are on this chord, your root chord, and you want to move, your first inversion and your second inversion will always work well for smoothness of transition. So let's try that with our 5. We want to move from the 1 to the 5, and this is our root of our 5. This is our first inversion of our 5. This is our second inversion. So we'll be making use of this one and this one, this one and this one. All right, this one, first inversion of the 5 and the second inversion of the 5. So now let's say we're on a C, we want to move to the 5. So what do we play? We play the first inversion, which is this, or we play the second inversion, which is this. All right, so that's the logic. So now let's play from 1 to 6, our 1 to 6, and don't forget the 6 is a minor. All right, minor chord. So like I said, this is our root of our 6. This is our first inversion of our 6. This is second inversion of our 6. So this first inversion and second inversion will really okay at this particular point here. Okay, so I think there's a exception to these rules. Okay, so at this point, for us to move from the 1 to the 6, our roots of our 6 and our first inversion will really work, because 6 is getting closer to the 1. All right, so from our 1, this inversion works. Okay, we have this inversion works, and our 1, this inversion works. All right, so because we are looking at the closest inversion if you are going forward, and the closest inversion if we are coming backward. So from our C, this inversion works. And what inversion of our 6 chord is this? If this is 6, this is our first inversion. So first inversion from our 1 to the 6, first inversion really works, and from our 1 going backward, our root of our 6 chord really works. Okay, so this will really guide us to know our transitions. So let's do from 1 to 7. So from our 1 to 7, which inversion of the 7 really works when we are moving from 1 to 7? So this is our 7, and this is our first inversion, second inversion. So now if we are here, you just know that this inversion won't really work because it's very far from our 1, right? If you can see how our hand is moving, I'm not saying if you play them together or that it will not sound well, it will sound well, but just look at the transition. So we look at the 7 chord, our diminished 7 chord, that the transition is very closest to our 1. So from here you can just drop down. You can see we still have our 7, and which of the position is this? This is our root. Okay, so from our 1, our root is very closest to our 1 going backward, and if we are to go forward, which one is closest? Okay, this one is closest. This one is closest. All right, so this our inversion is closest, which is our first inversion. So the logic is that as you are getting closer to playing from 1 to, as you are getting closer to here, the root of the chord you are going to and the first inversion will always work well. So from here we play our root going backward, or from 1 we play our first inversion going upward. So we have engaged on the relationship between the 1 and all the other chords on the scale of C major. So now we will do the same thing on our 2. So on our 2 we will compare the notes that, so we'll start from 2 and build and play our 2 and compare with the chords of 3, play our 2, compare with the chords of 4, play our 2, compare with the chords of 5, play our 2, compare with the chords of 6, play our 2, compare with 7, play our 2, compare with 1, play our 2, then back to our 2. Alright, so we'll be doing like that. We do for 3, we do for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4, 6, 7, then back to our 1. So I will show you people how to do for 2, and then you will do the rest for me, the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 as an exercise and as an assignment. So you go and do it and you make sure that you get it very well. So let's do for 2, and then you will now do for the rest. So this is our 2, and our 2 is minor. So we ask ourselves, we want to move to, after 2 we want to move to the 3 chord, and this is the 3 chord. So which transition is closest from our 2 to 3? Of course this transition is very our 3 here, which is the root, is closer, is close when moving forward from 2 to 3. Now if we are moving backward, which of the 3 inversion is closest? So if we look at it, this one is closest if going backward. Remember, this is our 3. All right, our root, first inversion, second inversion. So I'm playing it here. So from our 2 going backward, this 3 is closer. From our 2 going forward, our root of our 3 is closer. I would also encourage you, get a book and pencil, write down this relationship between each chord if moving. All right, we did. So we are doing. So you do the rest for me. All right, so from here going forward to our 3, this inversion is closest. From our 2 going backward, this inversion is closer to the 3. So now let's do from 2 to 4. So from our 2 we are going to 4, which inversion is closer? Very, 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 very smooth. So just move this our 2 to our 1 note here. It returns to our word. It turns to the second inversion of our 4 chord. Don't forget, this is our inversion of 4 chord. This is it, our root, our first inversion, our second inversion. So if you move these notes to here, it becomes our root of our 2 chord. But if you move it back to C, it turns to the second inversion of our 4 chord. All right, so this is what we call chord transition, chord voicings. All right, so from our 2 we want to go to 4, just move just 1 note and we have our 4. You can see that there's a slight difference in the chord. Look, let's listen. Okay, this one sounds a little bit more as if you are resolving. Okay, so that is it if you are going forward. Now if we are going backward from our 3, which of the chord is closer? This one. All right, so from a 2 going forward, this one is better. Then from a 3 going backward, this first inversion of our 4 is better. So now from our 2 going to the 5 now, from our 2 going to the 5 now, of course this inversion of our 5 is better, because our hand is still, if you notice our hand here, if we are moving to the 5, our hand still remains here, so we only move this 2 chord up, these 2 notes to the very next note. And this, which inversion of our 5 chord is this? Of course that is our second inversion of our 5 chord, because this is our first inversion, this is our root, this is our first inversion, and this is our second inversion. So from your 2 you can move to this second inversion of our 5, and when you are on your 5, of course you will always want to resolve back to the 1, and can see now that on this 5 now I can resolve to the first inversion of my 1 chord. So that's what we call chord transition, chord voicings, that you are able to see how it moves. Instead of playing 2 here, play 5 here, play 1 here, it's still okay. But you see how it's like we are jumping, we are cutting the spirit of, look at da, da, da. It's still nice, but look at the smooth transition here. You see how it sounds now. If I'm to add the left, my left hand, okay, I played that intentionally, so let's make it 2 5. All right, 1. So you see that it is the left hand that is now playing the bass of what we are supposed to do, while our right hand is transiting to the chords. All right, see. All right, so okay, so you see it's very, very necessary that we learn our chords and how we can transit from a particular chord to the next chord, no matter how the distance is. So we look at this from our 2 to our 5. Now it look as if the distance is much, but if we learn the inversion of this chord, our 5, you discover that the inversions are surrounding this our 2, so they are not really far from themselves. So this one works, or if we are 2, this one works. All right, so 2 5 1. So you see it works. So let's move from 2 to 6. So these are 2. For us to play 6, what we just need to do, we leave the 6 here, because this 6 is part of the 6th chord that we want to move to now. So we just move our these two notes to our C and our E, or our 1 and our 3, because they are part of the 6th note. So you see it turns to a 6th chord. So from 2 to 6, see, without changing much note. So this note remains constant, immovable, it's not moved. Only these two are moved. So this is what we call transition chord voicings. Okay, smooth transitions, chord transitions. Okay, okay, so from our 2 to our 6, or we can move from 2, which other 6? We can move to 2, from 2 here, 6. I think this one is closer, so let's leave this one. Let's move from our 2 to 7. So from our 2 to 7, for you to move to your 7, you leave all the notes here like the way they are. You move only this 6 to the 7, so it turns to your 7. So your 2 to your 7. Use the right finger from the 2, move it to your 7. Alright, then you can resolve to your 1. So 2, 2, 7. And at times, this your 7 can be substituted for your 5. Instead of you playing your 2, then your 5, and then your 1, you can play your 2, 7, then back to your 1. We will discuss that in our subsequent class. Okay, so now I've been able to achieve that from our relationship from our 1 with our other chords, relationship with 2 other chords. So I'm giving you an assignment. Go and play your relationship between your 3 chords and your other chords. Your 4 chords, your 5 chords with the other chords, 6 chord, other chords, 7 chord and other chords. Then we resolve back to 1. I want you to be fluent with understanding your inversion and being able to use your inversion to transit from one chord to another chord without making it look obvious. So this is what will make your voicing sound like a top notch and makes it sound professionally. Okay, so I want you to go practice this out. So we've come to the end of today's class. I hope you've learned something today. So please don't forget to subscribe, click the notification button and share this video so that other people will also benefit from what you are benefiting from. These are actually classes that some people pay money to get, some people sell, but I'm giving out for free. So I just only want you to support the channel and help it grow. All right, that's the only thing you can do for me for now, and see you in next class. Thank you.